Okay, let's give her our full attention.
Who here knows what a carbon footprint is? Okay. Well, a carbon footprint can be defined as the total amount of greenhouse emissions emitted from an organization, an individual, a product, or an event. Any activity that we do to fulfill our basic needs emits carbon. So what is so important about reducing our carbon footprint? Simply because we're living through the effects now of an overabundance of carbon in our environment. According to Assistant Professor of Aerospace and Mechanical Engineering at the University of California, Alejandro Uranga, if our aviation sector were a country, it would rank 7th worldwide for carbon pollution. Right, so my name is Madison, and today I'm going to be telling you why you should reduce your carbon footprint. Right. Reducing your carbon footprint is critical for our environmental health. If we refuse to make any changes, big or small, globally or individually, we will see some effects by the year 2100, and those effects would be rising sea levels, extreme heat waves, an ice-free Arctic, and increased risk of flooding. According to Professor Alejandro Uranga, if we make no changes soon, then our emissions could triple by the year 2050. So 2 of our main sources of carbon emissions come from transportation and animal agriculture. Transportation is about 80% of our carbon emissions. I'll be speaking about air transportation more than in general, so that's about 2 to 3% of carbon emissions. And animal agriculture is about 13 to 18% of greenhouse emissions and about 9% of carbon emissions. Okay, so transportation or air transportation. Sweden experiences the season of flight shame, and that is typically around the holidays or summertime whenever people are going on vacation, going to go see family. You're looking for the most convenient, fast transportation to get to where you're going. So even though your flight may be convenient and it's a short trip, it does account for 1/4 of your yearly carbon emissions. Okay. And then I have a little short video.
Tonight on One Hot Minute, carbon emissions increase due to holiday travel. In light of this, I will no longer be flying to see my in-laws. For the planet, take a hot minute to offset your travel at cooleffect.org.
Okay. And then for animal agriculture, it's more about caring for the animals with pasture expansion and deforestation and the equipment used. It's not mainly just the animals. So the equipment used to clear the pastures or expand them runs off of diesel, and diesel just has more carbon in it. So if there's a lot of meat eaters in the country, so if they're having to constantly expand their pastures for everyone who eats meat, they're using up a lot of carbon. Right, so since we can't stop carbon emissions completely, what can we do to reduce it? So as I mentioned before, Sweden does experience the season of flight shame, and that is around the holidays. And that came from when 14,500 volunteers stated that they weren't going to take air transportation for the whole year of 2019. So instead they opted for different transportation, such as a train. And train travel, it may be more expensive for longer durations, longer trips, but it helped them reduce some of their carbon emissions. So one of the volunteers was Catherine Hellberg, and she states, "I felt guilty when we flew to Barcelona. Now I feel proud taking the train." So some things that we could do is maybe carpool, so we don't have so many vehicles out on the road. If you're going to the same place as someone, you work with someone, you could carpool, or take a train. We have the subway, we have the DART train, stuff like that. And then for our animal agriculture, I'm not telling anyone not to eat meat at all, but you could cut back, maybe have meats on specific nights of the week, eat certain meats, less beef specifically, eat more chicken or fish. That way it reduces how much the farmers need to expand on their pastures and do deforestation, and they don't use the equipment that much. So in conclusion, if we don't make the necessary changes that we need or don't attempt to, there's no way we're going to have any changes for the better. It's only going to get worse. and we will see those effects coming for 2021, and our carbon emissions will triple by the time we reach 2050. Bob Bennett, Mo's Chief Innovation Officer in Kansas City, has created a goal to reduce their carbon emissions as a whole by 70% by the time they reach 2020. What are you willing to reduce to stabilize our environment? Any questions?